Have you ever been in a team meeting and just thought to yourself, this could have been an email? Or, felt a project just completely stall out because of office politics and confusion? Well, if that sounds familiar, then you are definitely going to want to hear this. We're about to break down a really powerful model from Patrick Lencioni that explains exactly why teams get stuck and, more importantly, how to fix them.
And this right here, this is the core idea. Lencioni is basically saying that in a world where anyone can pretty much copy your strategy or your tech, real, genuine teamwork is the one thing that's almost impossible to replicate. It's not just some nice-to-have soft skill, he argues, it's the ultimate competitive weapon. And yet, for some reason, it's incredibly rare.
So that's the big question, isn't it? If being a great team is so powerful, why are so many teams just plagued by politics, confusion, and progress that moves at a snail's pace? Why do we spend so much of our lives in meetings that feel like they go absolutely nowhere? And here is the simple, kind of liberating truth of it all. Teams aren't dysfunctional because you've got bad people on them. They're dysfunctional because they're made of, well, people. We're all imperfect, right? And that means teams are naturally going to have these very specific, very predictable problems. So dysfunction isn't a sign of failure, it's actually the default setting that we have to actively work against.
So Lencioni lays out these 5 dysfunctions that are all connected, and they build on one another, kind of like a pyramid of problems. They start at the very bottom with the most fundamental issue, and then just corrupt everything above it. So let's break them down, one by one.
All right, everything begins right here, at the foundation. And look, this isn't just the first of 5 problems, it's the absolute bedrock. If you don't fix this absence of trust, any attempt to fix the other stuff is pretty much guaranteed to fail.
Now, let's get really clear about what Lencioni means by trust. This is not about being able to predict how a coworker is going to behave. No, this is what he calls vulnerability-based trust. It's that feeling of safety, the feeling that you can admit you made a mistake or say, I don't know the answer, or even ask for help without any fear that someone's going to use it against you later.
Just think about how much energy gets wasted when that trust isn't there. People are constantly managing how they look, calculating every word, and basically protecting their turf. That kind of defensive posture makes real teamwork completely impossible. Vulnerability-based trust is the bedrock because it frees up all that wasted energy so you can actually use it to solve problems. So how do you even start building this? Well, in the book story, the new CEO uses this surprisingly simple exercise. She just gets her executive team to go around the table and answer a few personal questions. It's a really low-risk but powerful way to get people to drop that professional guard and just see each other as human beings first.
Okay, so once that foundation of trust is in place, it unlocks the next 2 levels of the pyramid, and these 2 are deeply connected. It's about embracing healthy conflict, which then, in turn, leads to real commitment. This is basically the engine that drives all of your decision-making.
You see, trust makes healthy conflict possible. When you actually trust your teammates' intentions, you can have these passionate, unfiltered debates about ideas because you know the goal is to find the best possible answer for the team, not just to score personal points. You're attacking the problem, not each other.
This is such a classic symptom of a team that's afraid of conflict. They create this artificial harmony in the meeting, but nothing ever gets solved. And that avoidance leads you straight into the 3rd dysfunction, a lack of real commitment. Because, let's be honest, if you haven't really debated an idea, you haven't truly bought into it.
Here is a huge insight that most teams completely miss. People don't actually need to agree with the decision to support it. They don't even need to get their own way. What they do need is to feel that their opinions were heard and weighed and genuinely considered. When people feel like they've weighed in, they can buy in.
Great teams absolutely master this concept, which was made famous by Intel's Andrew Grove. The idea is that you can argue passionately about an issue, but the second a decision is made, every single person gets behind it 100%. No passive resistance, no I told you so's, they just commit. Okay, so with that clear commitment locked in, now the team can install the final 2 pieces. These are like the guardrails that keep everybody on track. This starts with a willingness to hold one another accountable, which ultimately makes sure everyone stays focused on collective results.
This might feel a little counterintuitive, but it is so true. On a great team, accountability isn't just the leader's job. When a team has truly committed to a plan, the members themselves become the main source of accountability. They simply won't let a teammate's actions put the collective goal at risk.
And this table just shows the difference so clearly. On one side, a team that avoids accountability, well, they encourage mediocrity, and they just dump everything on the leader to be the sole enforcer. But when a team holds itself accountable, poor performers feel that natural pressure to improve from their peers, and problems get spotted way faster without creating all this extra bureaucracy.
Now, this whole peer accountability thing, it only works if everyone agrees on what their first team is. So for a group of executives, this means their number one loyalty has to be to the executive team itself, not the department they happen to lead. They have to be willing to prioritize the company's collective goals, even if it's not what's best for their own little silo at that moment.
And this brings us all the way to the very top of the pyramid. When accountability is missing, it's basically an open invitation for people to focus on other things, like their own ego, their career, or just making their department look good. But with accountability in place, everyone is focused on the only thing that actually matters, achieving the team's shared results. Okay, so how do we flip this entire pyramid upside down and turn these dysfunctions into strengths? How do we put all this together and actually make it stick?
It all works together in this virtuous cycle, but you absolutely have to climb it from the bottom up. Vulnerability-based trust is what makes productive conflict possible. That conflict is what leads to clear commitment. That commitment creates a culture of peer-to-peer accountability. And that accountability is what drives a relentless focus on collective results. See? Each level is built right on top of the one below it.
The model itself is actually really simple. It's not complicated. But putting it into practice, that is painfully difficult. And why is that? It's because it requires us to constantly fight our most basic human instincts. That instinct to protect our ego, to avoid conversations that make us uncomfortable, and to put our own success first. It just takes an incredible amount of discipline and persistence day in and day out.
So as we wrap up, I want you to try and apply this model to your own world. Think about the team you're on right now. Where's the friction? Is it a lack of trust, a fear of healthy debate, maybe ambiguity around decisions? Or is it a reluctance to hold each other accountable? I'll just leave you with this question. What is the one dysfunction that's holding your team back?